Welcome, Hobo Joe, to Geek Salad's Retro Movie Reviews for the Geek Salad Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
And tonight we conclude our Month of Muppets. Sans Catherine, unfortunately, she is on retreat this weekend. And I don't believe that the Wi-Fi in her hotel is good. So
It's not sufficiently adequate for live streaming. Oh. Apparently neither is Andy's. Okay. So that's not good. This is not going as well as I was hoping it would. Oh, yeah. There you are.
Oh yeah, we're back. Okay, I'm sorry. You were saying adequate Wi-Fi?
Yeah, and then
at
I was
the
saying
most ironic time, right?
Apparently yours is not.
So,
yeah.
Oh, was mine the one that cut out?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, well, we're back. Hurrah. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. I thought StreamYard was supposed to fix these things. So anyway, yeah, we're going to be talking about Muppets 2011 to close ourselves out with. And I honestly can't think of a better Muppet movie to close out on.
Except for maybe Muppet Treasure Island.
No. Sorry. Not at all.
All right. Anyway.
Quite honestly, next to the original Muppet movie, this may be my favorite Muppet movie.
I would actually agree.
Yeah. This is a movie we both saw in the theater. I think we both saw this opening weekend. We saw it separately. We didn't see it together.
Yeah.
And I just had a smile on my face the entire time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what good fan service looks like.
Yeah. I mean, you can, Jason Segel, one of the stars in the movie, was also one of the co-writers of it. You could tell he absolutely loves the Muppets.
Yes.
This is nothing but a huge love letter to the Muppets in the best way possible.
Well, I remember watching him he hosts Saturday Night Live, and during the opening, this was in tandem with the Muppets opening. Yeah. He had some of his Muppet friends come out, and you could see on his face that it was just like he was living his best life.
And rightfully so. I mean, if you had to make a Muppet movie, you'd want someone that absolutely loves the Muppets, but who's also a pretty decent filmmaker as well. Someone like like James Gunn. James Gunn loved the Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's a really good filmmaker.
Yeah,
best of both worlds. You need something like that.
You need, exactly. You have to count go along with the love. And this movie is nothing but a love letter to not only to the Muppets, but to the classic Muppets. This is all about the TV show. It's all about trying to bring that back. And I know, when we were having our conversations while we were watching the movie, Catherine included, I had mentioned that, I find it very interesting that it works, that it's done from a point of view not so much from the Muppets, but from the outsiders, from Gary and Walter, who are the fans. And I feel like that's what this movie needed. The Muppets themselves were kind of like living their own separate lives, not realizing that they needed each other to get back together. But having that spark to be able to do that, having fans who believed in them.
Yeah, you don't even see Kermit until maybe 20, 25 minutes into the movie.
20 minutes into the movie is the first time you see Kermit as a character, and not so much just as the flashbacks and the
on the TV show.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting too how Muppets are just part of this world. You can just be born a Muppet. Gary, Walter is that. He is just a born Muppet.
But brother to Gary.
Yeah, and it was a very interesting. It's very interesting that's how they were going to approach it. I felt it worked. I felt it really worked well. I felt like the Gary Walter dynamic worked really well. I liked the bringing Mary in, kind of like feeling like she was the third wheel to them when it's. Gary's got to get his priorities straight, and Walter needs to find himself. And I felt like Amy Adams was well used in this movie.
I love Amy Adams a lot. The only real issue I've got is that they introduced the romance between Gary and Gary and Mary
Yep.
right off the bat, and then they shove it into the back, and we don't hear about it for another
hour.
Hour.
Yeah, this movie is close to 2 hours long. It's
Yeah.
not
So
like the hour 30 that we've been used to the last 3 movies.
yeah. So I mean, they use the romance subplot, but I mean, it makes up maybe 15 minutes of the movie at most. It felt like they could have dumped that subplot because it was pretty pointless and used like gone about, gotten to where they got to a different way without using that because it just felt useless.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was dead weight on the movie though, and you get songs out of it. You quite honestly do not get Man or Muppet without that.
I know,
Without that point of realizing that he's got to, he's got to be a man.
And the song "Me Party" as well, which
exactly you don't get that song either without her feeling isolated from it. So
right.
There's a reasoning behind it. Now, it's not the crux of the movie. It's not the focal point of the movie, which is why it kind of gets, the whole thing is bringing the Muppets back together and getting them to realize that they are a team. And even still, it's the same thing with like Kermit and Piggy. That, Kermit needs to realize and Piggy needs to realize that they need each other in order to make the whole thing work.
Yeah, which I mean, we've seen 3 other Muppet movies before this one, and I think this is the movie that it actually makes the Kermit and Piggy romance actually palpable for the very first time.
I feel like it works a lot better in this context. I really do, and a lot of it is because, first off, it's not like you're getting these, they're not getting reintroduced to each other.
Yeah.
They're meeting for the first time again.
Yeah, it's not because I think it's because they make both of the characters their own individual entities rather than Kermit and then Kermit with Piggy.
Right.
Here it's Kermit and it's Piggy, and they've got to kind of reconnect before anything happens.
Exactly. And that's I enjoyed that a lot more. I felt like they pretty much didn't insist Piggy upon us like they have for these last 3 movies that we've reviewed.
I easily like Piggy the most in this movie. Like when she actually leads the team to take out Jack Black.
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
That was great. The whole Animal, what are you doing? Just put my balls on.
All right, everybody, masks up except for me. You can't cover his face.
What I really enjoyed about this movie is that, again, it knew what worked in the other Muppet movies and stuck with that. The cameos, ranging large and small, from just like little, like getting Mickey Rooney to sing one line of Life's a Happy Song, along with Feist, who is a folk singer. She was also in that as well. Alan Arkin,
Alan Arkin was just like such a put upon tour guide.
Yeah. And then the whole, just everybody at the end during the telethon, like Neil Patrick Harris saying, you're right. I don't know why I'm not hosting this.
And hell, you even had Emily Blunt.
Yes, kind of reprising your character from the Devil Wears Prada. Yeah. That was fantastic. It was a great use of the cameos. The lead human actors all, I think, did a good job. Chris Cooper was fantastic in this.
Chris Cooper was just so he not since Muppet movie villain.
Doc Hopper?
I meant the actor.
Oh, Charles Durning.
Yeah, not since Charles Durning was there such a guy like, I'm the bad guy. I'm here to do bad guy things.
Yes.
That's my purpose in the movie. You didn't need anything more than that.
Yeah. The whole gag about the maniacal laugh is just fantastic.
Maniacal laugh.
Maniacal laugh.
He even gets a rap.
Yeah.
Really?
Academy Award winner Chris Cooper gets a rap in this movie, and it works.
It does.
I got to admit, just based per capita songs, I found myself disliking less songs in this movie. Like, there's always that clunker or two, or just song that could have. I think "Me Party" might be the weakest song in the entire
I would agree,
show.
and it's still a really fun song.
It's fun and it works for Amy Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely could have just been pulled straight out of the movie because it's not a Muppet song. But
I mean, Man or Muppet, that won the Academy Award. But my favorite song, and I don't know about you, but my favorite song is probably "Pictures in My Head."
all right, see, I like that song a lot. I love "Life's a Happy Song."
I love Life. I'm so glad that you opened with that one, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something a little bit more heartfelt I felt about "Pictures in My Head."
Well, I mean, I think it's a reminiscence of everything that's past.
Yeah.
But the weird thing about Man or Muppet, you mentioned it won the Oscar. It is the only Muppet song to ever win an Oscar. That was a weird year because only two songs got nominated.
Yeah.
For like everything. But I'm happy that Brett McKenzie from the Concords won an Oscar for this because it's a fantastic song. It works really, really well. Again, shocked it wasn't something else that they put in its place, but I'll take whatever I can get.
Apparently, they were paranoid as all get out to keep Jim Parsons' cameo a hidden secret of this movie.
Yeah, I think that was a good pairing as well, having him kind of be human Walter.
Yeah.
And I read that Jason Segel got to keep his Muppet.
I was hoping he would. That's kind of reminiscent of season 1 of the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
where for every host they give them like a Muppet version of themselves.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool that happened. I mean, just bringing back the characters, seeing what they'd been up to, the whole. I love the bit with Fozzie having to do a bastardized version of Rainbow Connection in Las Vegas with the Muppets,
including Dave Grohl.
Yeah, who's doing Animal. It was that was a great little juxtaposition. Gonzo owning a toilet empire,
and like what's funny is that apparently he was the most one of the more successful toilet empire. So he probably had the money to save this studio, but he decided, no, I'm leaving and I'm going to blow up the whole thing because that is what Gonzo would do.
Yeah. I was thinking about that too when they bring up the whole thing about there's oil under the studio, which, by the way, I love that they just explained this is it takes care of a lot of their storytelling if they just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
But there's that bit with Walter as he's screaming and he's running and they have to decide where to go and he's like, stop the car, and they just stop at Pink's to get hot dogs.
Oh yeah. What was it? They were like they're trying to come up with a plan, and they had they were trying to find Kermit's house.
Yeah,
and they saw like the map to the stars right next to Pink's. They stopped. These are really good hot dogs.
Yeah. Have you ever had a Pink's hot dog before?
No, I've had a Nathan's hot dog.
Okay, I have never had a Californian Pink's hot dog. However, there's one out in Connecticut at one of the amusement parks. They transplanted one over. They're actually really good. But it's like that kind of thing. It's a sloppy hot dog. You got to have a bunch of stuff like piled on it. They're good. So go eat Pink's hot dogs. But
maybe next time I'm out there.
Overall, I think that this movie really it's what the Muppets needed because they got that spark. Muppets have always been kind of the forgotten franchise when it comes to, I mean, hell, we've been talking about this forever. They've been owned by Disney forever.
Yeah.
And they've always felt like the forgotten franchise. I mean,
I love the fact that they kind of make a joke about that when Rashida Jones is, studio executive is like, okay, here's what's really popular. Unroll. Here's the Muppets.
Yep.
Oh, you got a kitty.
I got Pippin with me. Yeah, he's probably begging for food, but well, that was the whole thing too. Is that it's a thing stuck in the 70s. And even like when they get back into the theater, get out of there. And his Kermit's Rolodex is like, is President Carter there? Do you have a new address? It's hilarious, but that's kind of the thing. And even Chris Cooper, Tex Richmond makes a joke about that in terms of like, singing with these guest stars from the original show.
Oh, yeah.
Might have been Julie Andrews and Liza Minnelli. I don't remember exactly what.
Yeah, I know it was Julie Andrews. I believe Liza Minnelli was over there.
But the whole gag, that whole thing was brilliant. Bringing back the original Muppet opening theme, and then having them stumble around it because Animal can't play the drums.
Ding, ding. And but I mean, personally, my favorite cameo though, Zach Galifianakis' Hobo Joe.
Oh, that was great.
And the fact that he had like a falsetto singing voice too.
Yep. Well, I just love the fact that he actually brought in like a fire drum into the theater.
And they're like, there's nobody here. Hello.
What about Hobo Joe? Why do you keep forgetting about Hobo Joe? And then a whole bunch of other transients just show up in the theater too before they start selling the tickets.
Yeah. I mean, this whole movie is really about nostalgia.
It is, but it's handled. I feel like the way it's handled, it's a very meta type of movie. It understands where the nostalgia is coming from. That there are these people like you, me, like Catherine, who have always loved the Muppets. Growing up, we've always loved the Muppets, and we want to keep that going. And having that ability to keep the Muppets to keep the theater and to continue doing things, beyond the Muppet Vision 3D.
And actually, speaking of being meta, I think not since the original Muppet movie was there a Muppet movie that really understood how to use breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
Well, sorry, Muppet Christmas Carol. Yes, as well.
Yeah, Muppet Christmas Carol did a really good job at that. That kind of feels more like a narrator's thing though than a break the fourth wall thing, because they're not active characters. Rizzo and Charles Dickens aren't. They're not interactive characters. They're just there to tell the story. They don't interact with anybody else. I think that it worked. It worked really well for this. I mean, and they don't do it that much,
which is exactly right.
Right. But they do. I mean, they do peel. They peel back a lot of those things, just like the whole plot device in the first movie with the script. How'd you guys find us? Well, we just read it in the script.
And right in this one, how'd you guys get back here? Don't you remember traveling by map?
Yeah, it's a great gag.
An 80s robot.
80s robot. Oh my god, it's fantastic.
Grody to the max.
The modem gag is my favorite. It was one of my favorite gags in the entire movie.
Because kids nowadays will not understand that joke.
No, you won't. Ask your parents, kids. I love it. Just everything about this movie was just, it's so happy without being super cynical.
Yeah.
You get over the cynicism of the Muppets being a passé thing. And this did open the doors for, future Muppet projects. Some good, some not so good.
Some canceled, some not so canceled.
I know Catherine wasn't a big fan. I really love the Muppet TV show on ABC.
Oh yeah, that one. I only watched like the first few episodes. I did enjoy it though.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. It felt like it was a little more grown up. Very 30 Rock-ish. Very 30 Rock / Parks and Rec, and the way it was handled. I enjoyed that a lot, and I can understand people who didn't like, because it does deviate a lot from the traditional Muppet format. They do change some characterizations of some stuff. Piggy is the big star of the movie on the TV show. On the TV show within the TV show.
Yeah.
And then I'm okay with Muppets Most Wanted. It's not my favorite, but it just felt like there was probably a better sequel to be had somewhere.
Yeah, it felt after the high that I was on with this one to go to that one, I was like,
It's fine.
yeah, there's good stuff about it. There's bad stuff about it. It's a meh sequel.
Yeah, and then the show that they had on uh, Disney Plus, they did it during the pandemic.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
It
was
was
all like
really yeah,
it
it
was
was really rough because Steve Whitmire had just been fired,
yeah.
and that test drive. It's always difficult to test drive to be the one to test drive the new Kermit voice.
Oh yeah. Um, he's he's trying. I'll give him
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I actually saw him do Kermit live at D23.
Okay.
Um, and you could tell he was trying he's trying his best. It's not the easiest voice to do
No. No.
because you're really just trying to kind of emulate Jim Henson as much as you can, and
Yeah.
it's not easy.
There's a modulation in the voice that you have to do.
Yeah.
If I'm properly motivated, I do an amazing Kermit. Um, if I'm properly motivated, my voice is holding up.
Well, wait.
We're wait.
Anyway.
Oh no! That's just a myth.
Yes.
No, myth.
Not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah, thanks.
Disney's calling you any moment now. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
no one's calling me. I have a lot of ideas. No one's calling me. Yeah, it's really tough just to not just gush about this movie. I really love everything about it.
I mean, the only I love everything about this except I don't like the fact that they gave the romance subplot such a backseat. It made it feel kind of superfluous when it does integrate into the plot just on such a low key element.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they could have found a way to drop it and like maybe have instead of having them like trying to get engaged, maybe having them be married already.
I think having them not be like that whole thing about her wanting that storybook engagement. I think that worked. They've been together for 10 years, and I feel like it's a good. It's in terms of storytelling, it's a good place to have them be at a crossroads where is he going to decide that his brother he needs to still be with his brother, or if he's going to let his brother go and be with Mary. I'm fine with that. And again, it didn't take up too much oxygen that it bothered me one way or another.
I get why it's in the movie and it works with the movie, but at the same time, it's like they introduce it so early on and then they just abandon it for like a good hour or so, and so it just like it felt like maybe I wouldn't mind it so much if they just like kept going back to it every so often.
Yeah,
just keep like, hey, remember this?
Yeah.
Well, there
were some reminders in there with the whole don't forget our anniversary dinner. There were little bits there here and there, and then we got Me Party, and then the whole thing with her getting mad because it was their anniversary and he forgot, and then he's got to go back to get her. So it was there, but again, Gary and Mary aren't the main characters. They're the two biggest names in the movie, but they aren't the main characters. It's Walter and Kermit's movie, and
I guess it's just the fact that they start off like kind of putting Gary and Mary front and center.
Yeah.
And then once you get Kermit in, you realize, oh wait, okay, that was kind of a false start. This is the real start of the movie.
Yeah, you need to get introduced to these new characters, and I like that they just did that instead of just having us assume who these people were, and they're already meeting up with Kermit. You needed that. You needed to build that up. And you also get that amazing song. So,
Yeah.
and then at the end, you get the Mana Mana with like every guest star.
Yeah. Well, you know who I would have loved to have gotten a Mana we didn't get? Donald Glover.
That's right, we didn't.
Because he was Rashida Jones's kind of
He
assistant.
was her assistant, yeah, with the Punch the Teacher. Was that what it was called?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Where is it? Because Ken Jeong was the host. Yeah,
Ken Jeong was the host, and they're fielding complaints from the teachers' unions. Why?
And did you see who the teacher that they punched was?
No, who was it?
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Oh,
uncredited too. I was like, he says something like, "I was just trying to make it fun."
Yeah. Oh yeah. I felt like that's the thing, is that I feel the cameos themselves, the actual tried and true cameos, worked really, really well. Nobody was overdone.
No,
even Jack Black, that wasn't overdone because things kept happening to him.
Yeah.
When he wakes up after being knocked out, he's in a tux like, "You ruined my look."
and then he was he's doing the running commentary. He's like, "Oh, you're ruining that song." Oh. The barbershop quartet version.
Barbershop quartet routine. Come on.
Wasn't that like "Smells Like Teen Spirit" or something like that?
Yeah, it was. It was, and it's interesting in the trivia on IMDb with that. Courtney Love absolutely hated that.
Really?
But yeah, the surviving members of Nirvana, including Dave Grohl, who was Animal, loved it. They thought it was a lot of fun. And it was an interesting thing because around that time, remember, like, they were doing the YouTube videos of the barbershop quartet stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like they did the Danny Boy with Beaker. So bringing that back in was a great addition to it. I think one of my favorite, like, little bits in there also was the bit with when the power goes back on, and Wayne and Wanda are making out.
Oh yeah. Nice old. That's real old school Muppets.
Those
that's
are
first
old school.
Season, nothing more.
Yeah, between that and some of the walking Muppets, some of the the human costumed Muppets, just showing up. They never showed up in anything other than the opening, and they're there. That big blue one too, that looks kind of like Max Rebo, but not really.
Yeah. You could tell that Jason Segel is like, "Hey, if we're gonna go deep, let's go all the way deep."
Yeah, and they did. I thought they did a great job with that.
Absolutely.
And this is the first time too that we'd heard Rolf's voice since Jim Henson's death. This is the first time that anyone attempted to do Rolf, because that was his signature. It was his first signature character, was Rolf.
Yeah. And
so it was nice to get that back, even though his backstory is hilarious.
Oh, that is one of my favorite moments in this entire movie.
Yeah.
Why don't you make my backstory?
I thought it was pretty interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. You want to you want to come start up the show? Okay. Classic. Yeah. I really enjoyed this one. It was fun to rewatch it, especially because, I don't tend to watch these Muppet movies one on top of another like we've done over the last month. So I found it to be fun. It also was a little more enlightening, maybe a little too much enlightening, because I got to comparison mode on there, and it's kind of hard not to do when you're doing them this close together. So, I mean, when I was a kid, there was no way for me to do that. We didn't have home video at the time, and these movies got released 2 to 3 years apart from each other.
Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of nice to just compare and contrast the different styles of Muppet movies.
Yeah, and I do love this one, and like I said, this is right up there with the first one for me.
Right. Yeah.
They're both home runs, and I really love both of them.
I don't think that anything is ever going to be able to top the first one, just because
sheer nostalgia is going to keep that one in the front for me.
Exactly, but this one, the quality, I think, of this one surpasses most of the previous. I think I might still put Muppet Christmas Carol above this one.
Okay.
Just there's something special for that
I
one.
feel like there's something incomparable about Muppet Christmas Carol. Almost like it should not get lumped in with all the other Muppet movies.
I think that's fair.
Because it's a story adaptation, because it's a Christmas movie, because it is purposely so different than everything else. I almost don't feel like it can qualify as a Muppet movie in that sense, in terms of a comparable, worst to best.
Yeah, it's still a Muppet movie, but it's kind of like it's almost got that extra kind of classic quality to it.
It's its own thing.
Yeah.
So, and that's, that's just how I look at it. It's almost like when, you asked me what my favorite Star Wars movie is. I feel like you can't put A New Hope as the first one because it's the trendsetter. It started everything. I love Empire Strikes Back the most, but, it's like, ugh.
Yeah. No, I
just can't do that to me. Most other movies that have, full movies, yeah, I'm fine with it, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, overall, I this was a fun thing, and I'm happy we were able to do it. And chances are, Mike, we are never going to review Muppets from Space or Muppet Treasure Island.
Unless we get really desperate.
Yeah. Well, there's always something going on every month now. So,
yeah.
Speaking of which, next month, February, we are going to kick off our countdown to the Academy Awards by we are going to start in the 1930s and review a movie a decade. So next week, and I think we've decided we're going to start with 1934, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so we are going to review the Frank Capra classic It Happened One Night, starring Clark Gable and Myrna Loy. And we've got something for the 40s, we've got something for the 50s, and something for the 60s. And seeing as how we go, we might, if we're still got a week or two before Oscar time, maybe we'll do something from the 70s and the 80s.
I can almost guarantee I probably had never seen any of these movies. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, well, they are all easily accessible.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. And while we are doing that up to Oscar season, I'm going to attempt to watch all 10 Best Picture nominees as best I can without going to the theater, because I'm not going to the theater.
So you're not going to go see Avatar then?
No, I'm not going to pay to see Avatar. No, and it's not going to be streaming in that time either.
How did that movie make the list? I don't know.
It's usually because if it were just the traditional 5, it would have never made the list. But it grossed $2 billion, and that's the whole reason of having that extended 5. Same reason why Maverick.
We'll get in the movie with the kids.
Still not going to improve your ratings. So anyway, that is what we're going to plan on doing. So can't wait to talk about my findings on the movies that are. I know that roughly about half of them are available on a streaming service that I do not have to pay extra for. Right. So everything everywhere all at once, Top Gun Maverick, Elvis, The Banshees of Inisherin, All Quiet on the Western Front. Those are all available now on streaming, and I'm sure that give it some time, because I'm not paying for Peacock either, so I'm not going to watch Tar anytime soon, or The Fabelmans, or Avatar, or the other, and the rest.
Maybe they're just on demand. You never know. Maybe they're just on demand.
No, they are on the VOD end of thing. And sorry,
don't be sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, I will do my best. I will let you know what I think. But we do want to know, getting back to the Muppets here as we close this out, what are your thoughts on Muppets 2011? Do you like this one? Was this just not your cup of Muppet tea? We want to know. Play comment below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so already. If this is your first time watching, welcome. We do love talking about the Muppets, but we talk about all sorts of things, especially because Mike and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can check that out wherever you get your podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts. We are there. We also put our audio for our podcasts here as well on YouTube. You can check out all of our stuff. We do this every week with our retro reviews. Check that out. Share the videos. Let's get some more views going up on there. Also, you can follow us on social media at Geek Salad Radio on Twitter, Mastodon, and Hive, and Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook. So until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.